Thank you for everybody being here this morning. Another great, beautiful day in Manatee County. I'd like to call Board of County Commissioners Land Use meeting to order for this Thursday, March 7th, 2024. And before we do our invocation, as we always do, we worship God and pledge to our nation. I'd like to, this morning we have Tucker Owen from Bayside Community Church. And doing our pledge this morning, we have one of our own, Major Charles Cook, U.S. Army Reserves. And I'd like to read a little bit about Major Cook's military experience. 27 years in the United States Army, retired. Legion of Merit, Meritorious Service Medal. Meritorious Service Medal a second time. Army Commendation Medal. Meritorious Service Medal again. Army Achievement Medal. Got it twice. Army Commendation Medal. And he's one of our very own, like I said. And Major, thank you for being here this morning. Great to see you. And thank you for being in the uniform. That's good. All right, so we could all rise for the pledge and the invocation and the pledge. We thank you very much. Pastor?
Good morning, everybody. Let's pray. Good morning, everybody. Let's pray. God, we thank you. Thank you for being a God that cares, sees, and hears your people. Lord, we pray over the board members this morning. Would you give them eyes to see and ears to hear and hearts to unite our city and our surrounding areas. God, we thank you and we pray over the decisions that are being made today. Would you open doors that need to open? Would you shut doors that need to shut? We ask for favor and provision as decisions are being made that involve this city and its people. We ask for the most fruitful and prosperous decisions to be made at the proper time. We pray together that you bring unity throughout the decision-making process and that the vision that these community leaders have is fulfilled so that a positive impact can be made in our city and in our state. In your name we pray. Amen.
So moved. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Owen, and thank you, Major. I've just been informed by our technical crew we're having a few more technical problems with our system. So what they'd like us to do is take a 5-minute recess so they can figure out what's going on. So I'm going to call recess for 5 minutes. We're back. We were experiencing some technical difficulties, so the folks at home will be able to see us, but they won't be able to hear us. So as long as the clerk is good, we're good to go. So, and we have nobody interpreting for us up front. So the folks at home just have to guess what we're saying.
If you're good, that's the best way to do it.
Let's be clear that it is also being recorded and people can go back and listen to the audio later. It's just if you're listening in real time or watching in real time right now, you can't hear
us. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Ms. Greer, is there any updates to the agenda?
There's just one update, and that was a revised motion for item number 8, which was handed out to everyone at the dais.
Okay, thank you very much. And on to citizen comments. Up next is citizen comments. This is for comments on future agenda items. If there are any citizens that would like to come forward, I didn't see any registered, so looks like there's no citizen comments. So we'll close citizen comments, open citizen comments on consent agenda items. Didn't see any there either, so we'll go ahead and close citizen comments on consent agenda items. Up next is our consent agenda. And is there any commissioners like to pull anything from consent?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll go ahead and move to vote on consent agenda. If I could get a motion up.
Second.
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Second.
All right.
Are we just going to voice vote or do we want to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see one. Yeah, I don't see the thing. I don't see them. Yeah, let's do them. Huh?
There's issues with that as well.
Okay. So let's do a verbal vote on to approve the consent agenda. All those that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. And Commissioner Satcher is absent. So let's move forward with, and congratulations to Chief Litigator Chris DiCarlo. He is now the interim county attorney. And let's move forward to advertised public hearings, presentations upon request. Is there any commissioner who would like to hear any presentation on item number 2? And Ms. Greer, can you read that into the record, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 2, DRI number 22, ordinance 2426, University Lakes DRI amendment. Schroeder Manatee Inc. is the owner, and it's quasi-judicial, and we have Rosina Leiter here for staff.
Why don't we go ahead, before Rosina comes out, Madam Clerk, and swear everyone in right now, before we forget.
At this time, if anybody wishes to speak before the board for any item, even if you think you're going to speak before the board, please reaffirm that the factual statements and representations you are about to begin to the Board of County Commissioners are truthful and accurate. Thank you. When you step to the podium, please state your name, your residence, and institution form.
Would any commissioner like to hear a presentation on item number 2? Seeing none? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 2. Commissioner Cruz, move the motion, seconded by Commissioner Bearden. Please cast your votes now.
I'm not even logged into this thing, dude. And it says Jason Bearden.
We're going to wait for Commissioner Van Ostenbridge to catch up. Okay. All right. He's an aye also. Any opposed? No. Motion carries 6-1 with Commissioner Satcher absent. 6-0, sorry. 6-0 with Commissioner Satcher absent. All right. Move to the next item.
I was just being asked if you asked for public comment on this one.
I'm sorry. Is there any public comment on item number 2? Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Vote's been made, and the motion is, and the item is passed. Ms. Clerk, can you read item number 3 into the record, please?
PDMU 9201G-R19, University Lakes General Development Plan Amendment. Schroeder Manatee Inc. is the owner, and we have Rosina Leiter here for staff.
Would any commissioners like to have a presentation on this item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for public comment while IT helps Commissioner Van Ostenbridge out. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, close public comment and ask for a motion. Motion was made by Commissioner Cruz and seconded by Commissioner Turner. Please cast your votes now.
Aye.
Thank you. I vote by Commissioner Van Ostenbridge. And it looks like, yes, the motion carries 6-0 with Commissioner Satcher absent. Thank you very much. Now moving into advertised public hearings, presentations scheduled. Ms. Greer, can you read number 4 into the record?
PDC 2350P, University Car Wash. VW University Shade LLC is the owner. It's quasi-judicial. Rosina Leiter is here for the planning staff. It's a preliminary site plan for a car wash facility, approximately 3,825 square feet on approximately 0.82 acres, and it is at the corner of University Parkway and Shade Avenue.
Who's presenting for staff?
Well, Mr. Chair, do we ask for disclosure of ex parte communication?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Has there been ex parte on this, on item number 4?
No.
All right, thank you.
Go to the applicant.
Yes, let's go to applicant.
Yes, good morning. The applicant
Sorry about
first.
Good morning, Commissioners.
I did want to give you your time, but
What's that?
I did want to give you your time, but
Thank you. I appreciate you were trying to skip me. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Scott Rudisell. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Brightwork Real Estate. They are the owner of this site. They acquired the property about 2 years ago now. So it's been a long time coming, but we are happy to be here in front of you today.
This is the project site. It is approximately 0.82 acres located at the northwest corner of Shade and University Avenue. It's about a half-mile east of US 301. And this is the zoning map of the area. You can see the site's already zoned, planned development commercial. So the request that is before you today is just for the preliminary site plan approval for the car wash. Car wash is a permitted use in the PDC zoning district. And this is your future land use map. The site's designated mixed use MU, which is one of the most intensive designations that you have in the county. The project is also located in the southwest tip district. And here's your map of some of the surrounding developments. You can see there's a good mix of uses in this area. The project is completely surrounded by the Village at Sarasota multifamily project that was approved a few months ago. And this shows the site plan that was previously approved for this site. This is a drive-through bank that was approved in 2007, never constructed. And that site plan has expired now. And here's a colored version of the site plan that's proposed today. You can see the vehicles are going to enter off of Shade. They're going to go through the kiosk, into the tunnel, and then there are 2 rows of vacuum stations with shade covers when you come out. All right, there are a few specific approvals being requested for this project, so I want to give a little background on that. First of all, this is a small site. Is located in the entranceway, which triggers a number of additional requirements. But the entranceway also requires enhanced buffering, and this project will meet the enhanced buffering requirements even where the widths of the buffers are being requested for reduction. In addition, at the time that we applied, the Village of Sarasota project that I referenced before that surrounds the site had not been submitted. And so the original design on this site did not have to account for all of the additional requirements related to being adjacent to residential. So we came in with one site plan. Midway through, Village at Sarasota passed us. We had to go back and now account for the fact that we had residential adjacent to the site. So the owner of that project that entitled it to Village of Sarasota, they did submit a letter of support for this project. They were aware of it. They accounted for it when they were designing their apartment project. And so the first batch of specific approvals that I'm going to run through today are all driven by the fact that this was approved for residential before this project got through the process. So you have drive-through stacking areas that are required to be set back 30 feet from residential zoning. We have 6.5 feet to the north. We have 15 feet to the west. However, the area to the north of the project is the parking area for Village at Sarasota, not residential units. On the west, we have car wash structures are required to be set back 35 feet, again from residential uses. Drying areas are required to be set back 50 feet from residential uses. Our tunnel building is set back 15 feet. But the dryer is on the southernmost opening, so it is all oriented towards University. Also, again, the tunnel is adjacent to the clubhouse and the amenity center for the Village of Sarasota, and again, not the residential buildings. We also did increase the buffer width on the west side from 10 feet to 15 feet. And the last red circle down at the bottom shows the original cross-access location for this project. However, the Village of Sarasota did not connect to the proposed cross-access, so there's no reason for us to show it on this site. Okay. The next batch of specific approvals here are related to the design considerations of the project, specifically the shade covers and the vacuum enclosure for the vacuum station. We think these are superior design features for the project, but when you add them, you all of a sudden have to comply with the setback requirements for structures. And so that's why you see these specific approval requests. The vacuum enclosure is set back
20 feet from shade, and you have a 30-foot setback required from shade and from university. And again, in the southeast corner, for the shade structure over the vacuum space there, we're providing a 15-foot setback from shade there and 20 foot from university. And these are the last specific approvals. The access point is required to be pushed as far from University Avenue as possible. And that was required by the county when we went through our review process, and so that's why you see the reduced buffer width to the north, because that is as far as the access could be pushed. The buffer on shade was reduced from 20 feet to 12 feet, but there's also a 9 feet of right-of-way reservation in that area, so you do have the additional separation there. And lastly, we are requesting specific approval from the entranceway requirement to preserve 75% of the trees exceeding 24-inch DBH on site. There are only 2 trees on the site that meet that requirement, and one of them is right in the middle of the site. So we won't be able to meet it, but it is possible that the second tree that is on the western border may be preserved. We'll find out when we get into construction. So staff is supporting all these requests, and we appreciate their work on this project. We did also receive a recommendation of approval 6-1 by the Planning Commission, and we are respectfully requesting your approval today. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'm on the board, but there might be somebody else on the board. So, good morning, Scott. A couple quick questions. What is the distance from university to the entrance to the car wash? Do you have an idea?
I might have to bring up Mr. Yates or Mr. Neville on that, because I don't know that I have an exact.
But here's my concerns with that. I mean, behind it, there's going to be apartment buildings built behind this project. Right. There's going to be 300 plus apartment units being built.
Yep.
Shade's a 2-lane road. Of course, we love building a lot of stuff on 2-lane roads here in Nancy County. And my concern is when people are coming and they're making that right-hand turn onto Shade, could this create a stacking problem, the distance between university and the north and the entrance to this car wash? When we have, if the car wash is full, because this is the only second car wash on the university.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's up close to Honore. And my concern is this is going to be a very busy car wash. And it could create some stacking problems with the bays being full, going through the car wash, and then people waiting to turn in there with the traffic from not only the neighborhoods around there, but from the apartment complex that's going to be built there also. So that's a big concern of mine is how do we alleviate that stacking problem that could exist and probably will exist based on the location of this car wash, based on everything else that's going around it. We have retail around it, we have restaurants, we have other apartment complexes. So that's my concern is, the distance between there. I know you guys can't do anything on the university because of the light. There's going to be any entrance and exits on the university. But that's kind of one of my questions is, how do we alleviate that traffic, and how many cars do you anticipate a day? I know the weekends are going to be crazy there, but during the week, how many cars do they anticipate in the car wash also?
Okay, all right. I might
follow on question.
Yeah, no, I might need some help on some of it, so let me start. Obviously, that access point, there's nothing we can do about that. That is the only access point for the site. Whatever goes there, that's going to be their access point. In terms of the stacking, we do meet the requirements on site. We exceed those requirements, and you can see, if I pull the site plan back up, and we can get into what the actual numbers are there, but we've got 3 lanes going into the kiosks, and then when you come through that, there's additional stacking before the tunnel. So we are well exceeding the county's requirements in terms of what's required for stacking there. In terms of the distance and the backing up onto the road, I'll let Mr. Yates talk about that.
Good morning, Michael Yates with Palm Traffic, and I have been sworn. It's approximately 250 feet from the stop bar to the driveway entrance, somewhere in that range, 235, 250. And so we have not done an operational analysis at the time of the PSP application, So we will be doing that as part of the FSP application. But it is anticipated that we will be required to do a northbound left turn lane on shade as part of that. And so we will need to figure out how to fit a northbound left turn lane on shade between University and the driveway. So I think that will take care of the operational and stacking issues that you're concerned with and that you're mentioning. But again, that will be done, unfortunately, it's through the FSP part. But that is my anticipation, is that we will be required to do a northbound left for Manatee County standards. And so from the trip generation standpoint, it is 78 peak hour trips, 39 in, 39 out. And for daily, about 780 daily trips is based on ITE.
Okay.
So, I don't know if that answered all your questions. I think those were all the specific ones.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Are there other questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I'm on the board.
Oh, sorry, you're there.
Yeah, I had a similar question, just to continue on with that. I'm looking at your site plan here. I mean, how are you getting these cars in here? Because I hear what you're saying about the northbound left turn, but what do you know about the southbound right turn? I mean, shade is going to be boxed up. And just, I mean, you know, I actually have a monthly membership to a big dam up on 64, and on the weekend, that thing gets jammed up. And the nice thing there is now you have the 3 lanes, but you have this big looping kind of private drive behind the Starbucks. I mean, you could put 100 cars there waiting for a car wash. And there are times where it's insanely busy. Here, you got a couple of cars that are waiting for the 3 turns, and more concerning, or equally concerning, and again, I'm not operating this, but people are going to come into this vacuum area. Their only way out is through the very lanes that are going in at the same time. You're 100%, especially on weekends, especially nice summer weekends or pollen season. Cars are going to be stacked up waiting to get through the gates, blocking everyone trying to get out from the car wash. And I saw that there was a proposed potential neighborhood tie-in on the bottom. Is this a proposed one, or is it the only feasible way this could even conceivably work is to cut through this existing neighborhood, which I understand we got a letter saying that the surrounding area supports this, but let's be honest, that's a letter from the person who used to own that land, who rezoned it and sold it, and now he's writing a letter and he has no vested or economic interest in that property any longer. So how are you getting these cars in and out of here?
So the sole access for the site is the access on shade. That is the only access. When the apartments came through, they did not do the inter-neighborhood tie at the southwest corner of the site plan. So that was one of the things being removed there, was that neighborhood tie, because the apartments were not required to do that. So the sole access will be off the shade. Now, we will need to go through and do an operational analysis and figure out how this will function. I can tell you this site plan is very similar to a lot of the new car washes that have gone and been developed. And they function very well with this very similar design. They're almost all designed the exact same way. And they function very well. But we will need to look at that driveway to ensure how that will function related to the operations there. But again, we are anticipating that we are going to need that northbound left to get that to work. That will require geometric improvements on shade, which could mean lengthening that southbound left that is currently there because it's striped out and it's in a transition area. So it's going to be some off-site work that we're going to need to do, and we're going to need to go through that review process with your staff on a detailed basis once we get to that point.
All right.
But that's the sole access for this property. We can't access University. And we are the exact same trips of the approved bank that was previously there.
Understood. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Satcher.
Just some clarification questions. You mentioned the peak hour trip. Is it, I'm assuming your peak hour is not going to be coinciding with rush hour. That's not when people are washing their cars. Is that kind of a mitigating factor here, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I would anticipate that the larger number of trips for the car wash would be off-peak, but the PM peak hour trips that are occurring during that rush hour from 4 to 6, that was the 78 trips. So that's what we're required to look at, is that PM peak hour.
No other questions?
Thanks, Joe. Any other questions on the applicant? All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, staff, you're up this time.
Good morning, Rosina Laya, by your staff on behalf of Warren. We're going to go fast to the same part of the information that the applicant provided. The proposal is for 3,800 square feet of car wash facility and 0.82 acres, and the site is already from PDC and within the airport overlay. As you see, it's located in the northwest corner of University Parkway and Shade, and is half mile of the US 201 highway. As shown is with the future land use of MU, that is the most strong or intensive use, future land use category, and with the airport overlay, and it's on PDC and was found like the applicant state in 2004, and after in 2007 was approved for a bank with a drive-through that expired. And it's surrounded by a multifamily approved project that is not built yet to the north and to the west. And across street is a office complex. These are the surrounding uses, and the applicant went through the site plan, and like as he says, it's only one access on Shade that has been located in the northern portion of the site to provide more separation from University. The location provides the connection with University Parkway, and all the car washing machinery will operate completely closed and separated to the real residential units adjacent. The applicant went through to the specific approvals, and I would like to point out that at time of the original application, the applicant provided GDP, and given the amount of specific approvals, the staff requested a preliminary site plan in order to analyze properly how going to be implemented the specific approvals. And they have a specific approval to the north to reduce the buffer from 10 feet to 6 feet, given the separation that they have to have with the access. That is the number one, that is the number one that is to the north, the property boundary. After that, they have a specific approvals related to the PVC zoning that are related to the feedback that they have to have along thoroughfares, and to the south, along University, they are proposing to reduce from 30 feet to 20 feet, and along Shade from 30 feet to 15 feet. And it's important to remark that Shade is subject to many improvements in the future, and that triggers that they have to have a special feedback requirement in that area. After that, in the west side, that they have a specific criteria that they have to comply with the car wash use. And another important thing to remark is since the beginning of the process with this car wash, and right now there are additional regulations that were approved in the process. Before, the regulation related to a car wash adjacent to a residential units were in the Land Development Code, and they were posted after this case coming, and this is, and also the parcel to the west wasn't a residential project. They have a specific approval related to the regulation for the car wash to the north with the separation from the vehicular stacking area. And also, they have a specific approval related to the entranceway that requires additional buffer for a commercial project in a regular PVC. They need only 10 feet. With the entranceway, they need 20 feet roadway buffer. And they are proposing, they are complying with the buffer to the south, and along shade, they are reducing to 15 feet. And also the regulation related to the caliber of the preservation of the trees. The staff is in support of the specific approvals, and we put together this slide that shows that to the north, that is, but the reduction of the buffer is more intense. There is a separation between the property line and the first building that is proposed in the village of Sarasota of 150 feet, because the plan is providing for parking areas along to the northern portion of the site. And also the building that is enclosed is located adjacent, like the applicant stated, along to the amenity center and not to the building, to the residential building. The staff is in support of the specific approvals, and if you have any specific questions, we're here to respond.
Thank you. First on board is Commissioner Ballard.
So I think you've answered some of my questions with relation to all of the specific approvals. And so it sounds like staff is in support of the specific approvals for a couple of reasons. Number one, the car wash regulations were not in place at the time of the initial application. Is that part of the reason?
Yeah, part of the reason is that in between the process, we approved more stricter regulations related to the car wash adjacent to residential.
Okay. And then another reason is that you're looking at the actual portion of the residential where people are residing, and it does meet that requirement. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were looking at the place in which going to be located the real residential units, no the accessory use for the residential complex. And like I said, to the north, the project to the north was approved with the parking lot along to the northern portion of this side, and the building's going to be separated at least 150 feet from the property line to the north. And also,
the facility that is enclosed for the car wash is really adjacent. The building is adjacent to the amenity center, not to the building that is proposed over there. And like the applicant stated, during the revision of or approval of the apartment complex, wasn't requested the cross-access easement. That is other the request that they have for a specific approval. And there is no way to provide this cross-access easement if the other property didn't provide it.
Right.
It's two factors. Entranceway is requested more stricter regulations, and this is in the entranceway related to the width of and the planting for the buffers, and the change on the regulations for car washes, and also the fact that when this application started, the project wasn't adjacent to a residential project.
Right. So do you believe that staff would have come to a different conclusion, number one, had the villages at Sarasota been approved prior to this initial application, and number two, if this application had been made after the new regulations for car washes adjacent to residential had been put into place?
Yes, because when we started, the regulations were less strict.
Okay, so you believe that you would have come to a different conclusion on
Definitely,
the specific approval?
The site is a little small, and the applicant is doing a big effort to accommodate in the best way the prototype that they have.
Okay. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think mine's going to be more for Nelson. I'm on the board next.
Let's bring Nelson up real quick.
Good morning, sir. Nelson Galeano, Transportation Planning, and I have been served.
Thank you. Good morning. Piggybacking on what Commissioner Cruz was concerned about heading south to University coming out of this site, along with the already existing residential that's around it that comes off of the other apartment complexes that use Broadway to get to Shade. There's a pretty massive apartment complex right there. Knowing that the apartment complex, 300-plus units, going to be built adjacent to this site, are we going to require that the applicant put in a right-hand turn lane at Shade and University?
It is a thoroughfare. Shade Avenue is a thoroughfare with a speed, I believe, lower than 45 miles per hour. And it is based on our regulation. They will need to have a southbound right to ensure that the stacking north won't happen during the high trip generation of this development. It means there are two types of trip generation of this development. One during the PM peak hour, which is what Mr. Yates speaks. It is about 80 trips during the PM peak hour. There are no problem on this one. Really, our concern is during the Saturday, during the peak hour of the generator, which is about more than 200 trips during this hour.
Okay, here's my concern. Same as like we experienced on Whitfield, and we discussed that at the last meeting, the apartment complex can be built there. The stacking happens when you're coming south, or when all these workers or homeowners go to work and apartment dwellers go to work, all that kind of stuff. We're going to have stacking there. It's going to be caused by the residential around it. And now that this project's going to come in there on a Saturday or a Sunday or during the week, it's going to be a huge stacking problem heading south to University. So is there any potential to put an acceleration right-hand lane like we have at Whitfield and University on this site? For us, I mean, I believe that's all of our easement up there, our right-of-way. I mean, because this is going to be bad. It's going to be 300-plus units, plus the residential that's up behind it, up on Shade, plus all the residential that's on Broadway now, with all the retail that's on Broadway. This is going to be a problem.
Let me use the paper camera here to explain something regarding this axis. Our first concern is essentially these conflict points between the northbound left and the southbound through movement. This is here on orange. That is our first concern. We have also concerns with the southbound right, with the amount of cars that stay over there, and we don't have the lane. And another concern is the proximity with the other private driveway. It means we have conflict points on this area on the axis, but at the same time we have also conflict points on the adjacent driveway, and both axes are very close. We need to think how to solve this problem. And the other is when we get out, it is very probable that the left-turn movement should be prohibited in order to avoid another conflict on this intersection. And another topic that we haven't spoken yet is here. What happens if someone get wrong? It means instead of getting through the boots, turn left. How can return? It means we need to evaluate also the internal regulation, but the internal circulation. But these items need to be analyzed at the time of the FSP.
I understand that, but you're asking us to make an approval now, not at FSP. So that's my concern, is that we see what happens at other places. We've already experienced these other type situations where we're 250 feet from University to the entrance here, which is how many cars? 16, 18 cars. So when they're all sitting there trying to turn right onto University, and we have no right-hand turn lane, and we have no ability to have an acceleration lane where they can turn in and go on to University and wait and move into traffic, that's a big concern of mine. The stacking that's going to go on there is going to be
it's gonna be a disaster. And then we're gonna hear about it later on after the final site plan's been approved by you guys, when we never get to see it again. So that's my big concern. All right, that's all I have. Commissioner Cruz?
Yeah, I'm going the same way as the chairman with my concern is I don't see how the cars are coming in and out. I don't see how the stackings work. All I keep hearing here is we want to put a car wash here and we have to do this because it doesn't work, or have to do this because there's 9 different requests. Not to mention you're saying, well, we got to figure out. I thought that's what we were here for. Like, this isn't really a rezone. Nobody's arguing whether or not you could hypothetically put a car wash here. You could put a car wash here. It's probably going to be very successful as a car wash here. There's a lot of residents around. But we have 2 documents. You have the comp plan, which is all we hear about, but we also have the LDC. And that tells you how you can build something, and for that matter, if you can build something. And it seems like nobody's arguing the comp plan. And all we keep hearing is it conforms with the comp plan, but does it conform with the LDC? And it seems like if we need 9 exceptions to cram a car wash into an undersized parcel just because somebody wants to build a car wash. Like if you're a hammer, you're looking for a nail. It's like, here's a car wash developer wants to put a car wash. Let's figure out how to cram this onto this tiny little site. You know, yeah, it's 150 feet. First off, 150 feet across flat concrete is not blocking a whole lot of noise. That's still going to be noticeable. Second, you put the heavy dryer next to the amenity center. That's where their cabanas and pools are, and they're going to sit next to that during their kid's birthday party. I mean, it's cramming into something. And what we're being requested, as the chairman says, to approve this, but I thought this is what we were approving. I thought we were approving the site plan and the conceptual use of this, but all I keep hearing is, we'll figure that out later. We'll figure out these pain points here on the traffic and whether or not there'll be turn lanes. What are we approving here exactly? If we're not approving a rezone, we're not approving the concept of a car wash, we're approving whether or not this car wash makes sense here in light of the surrounding neighborhood and the special requests. And I'm not hearing anything that encourages me that it is right. All I'm hearing is, let staff deal with it. Why are we even having this? Why wasn't this administrative if we're just turning this over to staff anyway? So right now, that's my big problem is I don't have the information to approve what you're asking me to approve. I don't mind a car wash here. I just don't think a car wash will fit here based upon the information I'm being told right now. So how did you all get comfortable? And this is probably more of a Rosina question now that you're up here. But how did you get comfortable with all 9 of these exceptions? It seems like it's not one, it's a lot of exceptions to cram this in. So it conforms to the comp plan, but does it conform to the LDC?
Mr. Chair, I would keep in mind that the applicant has burden of proof here, not Rosina, not Nelson. They present their analysis, and I think.
No, I'm saying staff said that they agree with this, that they're okay with this, and it conforms to the comp plan. I'm saying there's 2 documents. Would they also state on the staff report that they believe it conforms to the LDC? I think that's a reasonable question to ask.
Well, I think they stated it does not conform to the LDC. That's why there's 9 specific approvals requested.
Okay. All right.
Well, I'm just saying that the applicant's burden of proof, and I think they should address these relevant questions when they come down.
Okay.
That staff's taken it as far as they can take it. Staff just make recommendations on the ultimate decision. The board decides.
Okay.
Commissioner Turner?
Hey, Nelson, can you put that same site plan back up for me for a second? So, I mean, there's a lot of concerns about, the traffic and everything. Can we zoom in a bit where the entrance is? Guys, can we zoom in a bit so everybody can see it?
Put your face
closer. All right. Well, I thought for the crowd. If we're looking at it, though, we have 2 lanes coming in. Is there a way for that vacuum, just for design, have any of these things been discussed? And I'm not an expert at this, but if we can get two full lanes coming in and 1 coming out, it would certainly help a little bit with the pinch. Does that make sense? We have 2 lanes. We have 1 lane basically coming in. We've got a little island in the middle, and we've got to try and get the traffic out. That vacuum thing is facing north-south. I'm wondering if we could just turn it. We could end up with an extra lane ingress-egress into the car wash. Does anybody see what I'm talking about? Nod? No? No? Like, we're worried about trying to get in and out. You see at the top? That's why I want you to zoom in so they can see it. Yeah. But that's just the drain. Yeah. according to the drawing, we have, it looks like one lane coming in, one lane going out. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm asking is, and this could be a later thing, but do you see where the huge vacuum machine is facing north-south? Right there. The top, the box at the top. There, right there. Could we create more room if we sent that horizontal? We end up with another lane of access. So just to the client. Perhaps that would alleviate some challenges with the coming and going, if that's a possibility. I'm a member at the Dan's up on 64 too, so I love it. You guys can move some cars, absolutely. It's a very efficient design. The thing with the one on 64 is where we've got the setbacks on the south side of this one and on the east side, that's where all the traffic gets stacked on the one on 64, so.
That would be probably something you discuss with the
Can
applicant.
Denise Greer for staff, can I interject? That will cause another conflict point. We typically like to have one access coming in, especially coming off of a two-lane road, if I'm correct. But that would cause another conflict point.
So you don't want to have two coming in?
We don't want to have two coming in, but they could widen as soon as one comes in, which they've done. You can come over and get in one of the
I can see
lanes.
that. So it wouldn't be practical for us to have two lanes coming in to relieve shade then?
Correct. I think that would make another conflict point, which is another potential place that there's going to be an accident. Because somebody from the north could come in, somebody from the south, they don't quite stay in their lane, and.
Okay. There's a question.
Was it?
That's it. Yeah.
Mr. Satcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe Denise, you might be the best person to answer this question, if you're familiar with it. Is anyone familiar with the Take 5 on 301, close to Victory? So, as we're looking at this site plan, you've got Shade Avenue running north-south there, and then you've got, I'm not sure how much of that's buffer, how much that's right away, but you got the white space there before the parking spaces begin. A little bit to the west of Shade. We on the same page there? For Take 5, that is their entrance. That's how they avoid stacking. You're pulled in on the north side of it. So this is very similar, and it's similar in size. It's a little bit bigger. I looked at it, but it has a pond or a flooding area. So I think by the time you took that out of the equation, they're really similar lots. But they send people south and then around, and the car wash starts if we were to put them on top of each other, it would be the southwest corner of this would be where the car would initially go into to get washed. Do we have could we solve everybody's problem if we got rid of the requirements right there for how far they have to be from the road? Because to the east, that's not a residence, I don't believe. It's a doctor's office with plenty of parking. I don't think you're going to get any complaints there. Is that possible? Is that an option for us that would help with the stacking issue?
Well, looking at the Take 5 on an aerial right now, the difference between this one and the Take 5 is if you look at the plan that's before you, the Take 5 basically has their intake lanes where Shade Avenue is, like directly adjacent to where the vacuums are. So they have that whole length of the vacuum to take in. Then they've got 3 lanes, and then they go into the car wash.
Right.
So their site is physically bigger.
So it shows on our GIS 1.15, I believe, and then they're saying this is 0.85. But you see if you're looking at the aerial, you see the triangle at the top of the Take 5.
Yeah, they have their pond there, where this establishment is going to have all their stormwater underneath the parking.
Do we have the same, did they get grandfathered in, or does it just look different on the aerial of the Take 5 as far as how much setback they have from, I forget the name of that road there?
73rd
73rd
Avenue East. They may have had a different setback, but they don't have any structures per se. I do see that they have a canopy for their pay stations, but their building is set away from 73rd. And 73rd is also not a collector or thoroughfare.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
if we're testifying from a document not in the record, staff will have to enter the take five, whatever you're looking at, into the record when we get.
Yes, ma'am, I
when we have
can.
time. Okay, thank you.
So you don't see that as a viable, simple solution to make a different determination on the setback there? Doesn't help?
That would be them redesigning their site plan.
More than we could do today here. Thank you. No more other questions.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no other questions from the board, thank you, staff. What I do now is open this up for public comment. If anyone has any public comment regarding this matter, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. All right, staff, do you have closing comment? Okay. Applicant rebuttal. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you get on the board. You. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple comments. One thing that I think is important to note here, the access point that's being shown in this project is the only access point for this site. There's no cross access, so regardless of the use that goes in here, like, this is it. This is where the county is asking it to be put, and it's the only access that the project site has. So we recognize, and the comments are spot on. I mean, we recognize that we have some work to do as we get towards final site plan to try and work through the operational access issues. But as Mr. Yates said, the peak hour trips for this site are exactly the same as the bank that was approved before. And looking at this commercial site in this location on this major arterial roadway at this intersection, the other potential users here, most of the inquiries have been fast food restaurants. And all of those are going to blow these types of uses out of the water in terms of the potential traffic generation. It is an approved commercial site. It's going to be a commercial use, and so we're going to have to work through these issues, whether it's this use or the next one. And to be honest, same thing with a lot of the specific approvals. I mean, some of them are unique to the car wash and the fact that we now have residential adjacent, but some of them aren't. The cross access, you're going to have a specific approval there. You're going to have a specific approval to the north because you got to push the access all the way up. You're going to have the trees in the middle of the site. That's going to be an issue for every project. So I just think this is a site that's been approved for commercial uses. It's going to have to deal with the access and traffic issues regardless of the use. Amongst the potential uses, we think this is a very good one for this site, and so we're asking for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Osterbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think pretty much all of my questions have been asked and answered at this point. I'm just chiming in as a courtesy to the applicant, so Mr. Rudisil can make decisions on the fly as he goes here and let him know that I'm going to be a no, Scott.
All right, thank you. I'm back on the board. Thank you, sir. Here's my concerns. Yeah, a McDonald's in there or a Wendy's or Starbucks or whatever would definitely create more of an issue there. And my biggest concern is the traffic on Shade. You're heading either north or south. We're experiencing massive traffic issues on Honore. You can go down to Whitfield. You can go down to all the way down, and the stacking is the biggest concern of mine. We're seeing that, and if there's a way that you guys can come up to alleviate that stacking would be fantastic, but I don't know how you're going to do it on a two-lane road unless you just create some massive turn lanes coming onto University, making a right-hand turn on the University heading south, or create a bigger turn lane on University, a right-hand turn heading north. But those are my biggest concerns right now, is the stacking of traffic. Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, I would encourage the applicant and Scott to consider what Commissioner Van Oster said. I don't think anyone up here has said that they fundamentally don't want a car wash here. I think there's just concerns about how it's going to fit and what it's going to look like. Now, you can take your chances on a vote. I don't think it's going to be favorable, my guess, but you can also come back with answering some of these questions. I don't think anyone, again, is adverse to a car wash. I just think we're adverse to the information we have.
Yeah.
It's on? Oh, now it's on. Okay, now it's on. Anyway, like I said, I'll abbreviate that. Nobody's adverse to this car wash. We're just adverse, I think, to the information presented and the uncomfortable situation we're being put in. So if you want to come back with more information, then do so. Otherwise, by all means, you have every right to wait for a vote.
Thank you, sir. All right.
So,
Any other
Mr. Chair, are we doing questions to the applicant right now? It seems like you are. Before we do deliberation,
I think we were,
several commissioners asked the applicant if they want to continue, and so I think we have to allow the applicant to address that.
okay. Mr. Russo?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Appreciate the comments. We would like to request a continuance and see if we can work on some of the design issues and bring back something that would make the board more comfortable, particularly with the stacking.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to continue.
A second.
All right. That was, I heard,
And Mr. Chair, just for clarification, so this would be a motion to continue application PDC 2350P University Car Wash to another day certain and re-advertise as per the applicant's request.
yes, ma'am. We have a motion by Commissioner Van Osselbridge, a second by Commissioner Satcher for the continuance of this item. Please cast your votes now. And the motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. All right, moving forward, we're going to do items 5 and 6. We're going to open both items at the same time, but we'll have different motions have to be made, of course, for each item. So, Ms. Greer, can you read 5 and 6 into the record?
Yes, sir.
You ready?
Yeah. Sorry. PA 2310, Ordinance 2410 Buchanan, Small Scale Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment. It's legislative, and Dan Greenberg is here for staff. It's a privately initiated small-scale map amendment to the future land use map of the future land use element to designate specific real property generally located on the north side of 21st Street Court East, west of Allenton Gillette Road, from Res 6 to a future land use classification of Res 9.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there any, I'm going to ask just once for, is there any ex parte on 5 or 6?
No.
All right, thank you very much. Applicant, you're up.
Are we opening both of these at the same time?
Huh?
Are we opening both of these at the same time?
Yes, ma'am, but there'll be motions made separately on each item.
Then I still need to read number 6 into the
Oh, okay,
record.
you didn't read number 6? Sorry about that. I thought you read both of them.
No, number 6, PDR 2330 ZG Buchanan Rezone. 1099 Management Company LLC is the owner. It's quasi-judicial. Laura Gonzalez is here for staff, and it's a rezone of approximately 21.29 acres in the same location. And it's for 191 dwelling units.
All right, thank you. Mr. Russo, you're back up.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Apologize for being back up. I just tried to switch it to Margaret, and she declined. For the record, I'm Scott Rudisil. I've been sworn. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, 1099 Management Company. James Buchanan and Jeff Reynolds are the representatives of the applicant. We have Margaret Tucson and Paige Estegariba, our planners with ZNS Engineering. Nathan Crott is our engineer with ZNS. Carrie McNutt with Monarch is our ecologist, and Michael Yates on traffic. All right, there's 2 requests before you today. We have a future land use map amendment from the Res 6 to the Res 9 category. We also have a rezone from A1 to PDR with a general development plan approval for up to 191 residential units. So we're going to start by talking about the map amendment, and then we'll get into the rezone GDP. Again, this is a request to go from Res 6 to Res 9. The project site is just over 21 acres in size. This is the location of the project. It's on the north side of 21st Street Court East, just west of Allenton Gillette Road. And this is a closer aerial. You can see this area has an interesting mix of uses. You have industrial uses to the south, just across 21st Street Court East. So your future land use map, you can see the site is Res 6, and then to the south you have a mixture of
light industrial, heavy industrial, and the Res 9 category that we're asking to go to today. And this is a map showing the development trends in this area. Again, you have industrial to the south. To the west, you have a residential subdivision, and then west of that is the large light industrial project Silverado that was approved recently. To the east, you have several large lot residential uses, and then across Ellington Gillette is the Our Lives project, which has commercial, light industrial, and residential. This site is located in the urban core. It's within the urban infill and redevelopment area. It's within an activity node. It is an area that the county has infrastructure and employment opportunities and has goals and policies that encourage infill and redevelopment. Has basically what you're looking for in this project is right in line with those goals. And now to the rezone. Again, this is a rezone from A1 to PDR with a general development plan for a maximum of 191 residential units. This is the zoning map of the area, and you can see there's several planned development projects in the vicinity of this site. This is the general development plan. There is a large wetland and a ditch system that runs down the eastern boundary of the project. That is not being impacted. It's providing the 30-foot buffer, so you're going to have a significant separation between the residential uses to the east. And then the rest of the project is meeting the required buffers. We have a 15-foot perimeter buffer and a 20-foot roadway buffer. This is a GDP that's intended to provide some flexibility. So it could be single-family detached, single-family attached, semi-detached, or multifamily, or combination thereof, with a maximum height of 3 stories. There's one specific approval request on this one, and that relates to the inter-neighborhood tie. This is a request that came out of our neighborhood workshop. There were a couple of folks in that residential subdivision to the west. They asked if the site were developed as multifamily, if we would not make that a full connection for the inter-neighborhood access. And so we have proffered this specific approval in order to accommodate that request, and we do not have an objection to doing that. So it would be only if the site were developed as multifamily, that access point would become an emergency access only. This project did receive a unanimous recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission, and we are respectfully requesting your approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Cruz.
Have you looked at using any level of our affordable housing incentive on this? I mean, this seems like not only the right place for it, but it would, in all honesty, you're probably not charging more rent than what that 120% would be anyway. You just get free density. We don't have to upzone it from R6 to R9. You just automatically get even more than R9.
Right.
Probably for charging the same rent you're going to charge across from whatever that junkyard is to the south of it. So you're basically just getting free density.
Yeah, that was something that we did look at. The client, they, especially at the beginning of this, there weren't as many. We're seeing a ton of affordable action right now, which is great. But they weren't seeing that in their market, and so we didn't put it in here as part of the request. Obviously, if somebody wanted to do affordable, this does set them up to come back and ask for the additional units if they want to do it. It'd be a relatively simple process, but no, it's not part of the request.
Okay, just curious. I mean, I have absolutely no problem with this, but I was curious if they were planning on it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Van Ostenbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Neighborhood connectivity is the root of my question. So, of course, we are big proponents of neighborhood connectivity. We want to keep cars from going out onto the main road. I understand the neighborhood adjacent to you's concerns. So my question then would be is, could we, or maybe you're proposing this anyway, we just get into the details, even if it's multifamily, will there at least be a pedestrian access between the two neighborhoods? And my concern there, if there's neighbors in the audience, is what I'm trying to prevent is a kid having to go out onto the main road to go down on his bike or walking and then go to see his buddy who lives right next door when we could just have a pedestrian path going between the two. So I think it would be a good compromise, and I don't know if that's already being proposed. If it's not, could we propose that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there would be any objection to that on our end. Again, we were just trying to accommodate concerns from the residents of the West. The GDP doesn't have that level of detail to where we'd be tied in one way or the other,
So
but
you don't object to neighborhood connectivity at all, you're just trying to appease the neighbors?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. All right, that's it. Staff, you're up.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Greenberg for the record, and I have been sworn. The applicant, as usual, did a very thorough job, and I'll try to be brief. We've got the subject location west of I-75, north of the Manatee River, accessible via 21st Street Court East. The one thing he did not mention is it's within an activity node, and I'll note that later at Buchanan, Ellington, Gillette, and 21st Street Court East. As mentioned, they're requesting to go from Res 6 to Res 9. You can see surrounding future land use categories there. The Res 6 potentially allows up to 127 dwelling units with a density bonus, which was just discussed. They could go up to 255 units. They're requesting to go to 191 maximum under the Res 9. With the density bonus, that could potentially allow up to 425 units. The difference here is high-density clustered residential versus currently medium-density clustered residential. We talked about nearby projects. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Compatibility. Surrounding land uses to the north of 21st Court East are Res 6, but to the south we have a mixture. We have a Res 9 to the southeast. We have IL and then a bit of IH. One thing at the bottom to note is that the 150,000 square foot potential commercial activity would not be increased. They can potentially do that now, and they could potentially do that same thing with the same maximum under the Res 9. Taking a step back and to look at an aerial, we can see 21st Street Court East, with the property in the very center. Turning, we can see Manatee River in the background as there's a transition as development increases, towards the river and towards the city of Palmetto. Some of the positive aspects, it's located within the urban infill redevelopment area, which the city or the county is incentivizing growth in. They partnered with the city of Palmetto a while back to kind of transition this development area. It's also within the urban core, urban service areas, and west of the FDAB. Potential concerns really rely around the industrial uses to the south, and looking at mitigation factors is how we address those. They would have to comply with Plan Policy 2.6.11 related to any mitigation design requirements, and those often relate to potential change of uses next door. In summary, it appears to comply with all comp plan and land development criteria. Staff took this to the Planning Commission, and they provided the recommendation, and now we're requesting for the County Commission to vote. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, thank you, sir. Are there any questions of staff? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call up if
And
anyone.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, so that was the comp plan staff
Yeah.
presentation. Now
Yeah.
there's the rezone.
You want to do them both at the same time?
That's what we're doing.
Okay, yeah, okay. Now we'll do the rezone.
And just for clarification, so the no exploit communication statement applies to both? the
Yes.
comp plan?
Okay.
She's keeping you straight.
Hi, good morning. This is Laura Gonzalez with Development Services Department, and I have been sworn. I agree with the applicant's presentation, and I just want to highlight 3 comments based on the staff review and the analysis presented in the staff report. First one is compatibility. I would like to show my... Okay, we have this one. This is the general development plan. So my first comment is related to compatibility. The proposed residential use is compatible with the residential uses to the north, east, and west. The project includes a variety of dwelling types of dwelling units, so we can anticipate a difference in the development pattern, especially to the single-family residential units and larger lots to the east, and especially if the multifamily use is developed. To address these differences, as required by code, the project includes 15-foot greenbelt buffer to separate the development from the adjacent neighborhoods to the north, east, and west. To the east, the wetland and the ditch that runs parallel to the eastern property lines provides additional separation from the residential uses in the A1 zoning district. The uses and the zoning district to the south are industrial, and the 20-foot roadway buffer and the 21st Street Court East provide separation from these uses. In addition, if multifamily development is proposed, building height is limited to 3 stories, and the project will comply with the building height compatibility section of the Land Development Code. My second comment, the project complies with the applicable standard of the Land Development Code, with the exception of the specific approval that the applicant has explained, and in case that the multifamily multifamily type is developed. Otherwise, the access will be full access and not an emergency access as required. At time of the preliminary and final site plan, the compliance with the Land Development Code requirements and all applicable standards will be reviewed in details, and the applicant shall demonstrate that the proposal is superior in design compared to the conventional site plan. And my third comment is that the project is located in an area where services and utilities are in place or are planned to be developed to accommodate the development. Staff has evaluated the impact of the proposed density on the existing infrastructure and services, and has determined that they can support the new numbers of residential units. With the proposed stipulations and related specific approval, staff finds the request to be consistent with the policies of the comprehensive plan and the applicable requirements of the Land Development Code, subject to the comprehensive plan amendment that my colleague Dan has presented. If it is approved by the board, then the project will comply also with the policies of the comprehensive plan. This is my presentation, if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions from the board for staff? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. What we'll do now is we'll open it up for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who'd like to come and speak on either one of these items, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Is there any staff closing comments? Is there any applicant, anything? All right, cool. All right, we'll move to, Commissioner Cruz is on the board. Commissioner Cruz.
I'm gonna say if we're going into deliberation.
Yeah.
Look, this is infill location where it needs to be. It's close to employment centers. You got the Benderson industrial area right there. This is a great location for this. I think it does lend itself to the additional density because, again, I believe the rents lend themselves to free additional density. I have no problem with this. I think this is a good use of this land, and I think this is going to be successful. And again, it's putting growth where growth should be. So I like this project.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Turner, seconded by Commissioner Ballard. If you cast your votes now.
And this is for the ordinance 2410?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have the motion. The motion has been approved 6-1 with Commissioner Satcher voting no. All right, thank you. Moving on to item number 6. Looking for a motion. It's coming. All right. Ladies, we're able to get it? All right, so what we'll do is we can't bring up the motion, so I'm looking for a motion to.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion to approve by item number 6 by Commissioner Turner, seconded by Commissioner Ballard.
Oh, and Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
We just have to make sure we're careful with that. It's a motion to approve as stated in the staff report, subject to Council Plan Amendment PA 2305, Ordinance 2331 being adopted by the board and becoming effective.
Okay, yes, ma'am. And that's on number 6, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, makes more sense. Can we, since we did the first one as a online vote, I'd like to keep some consistency there. Possible.
Okay.
But it's,
What do you mean?
Well, hang on, Bruce, he wants them to pull it up on screen, see if they can do it.
Well, it's gonna be on record either way, right?
I understand that.
Okay. I see item 5, but I don't see item 6.
I don't see 6.
Yeah, I don't even see 6 there. I see the vote on item 5. You're clicking on 6, we're clicking on 6, and it's showing item 5.
Oh, there we go.
There you go, you got it? Okay. So on item 6, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Turner, seconded by Commissioner Ballard. All those cast their votes now.
Can we do a verbal?
It's up. It's up. Okay. The motion carries 6-1 with Commissioner Satcher as a no. All right. That finishes the items for presentation. There's county attorney, no comments. County administrator, he's not
Yeah,
here.
we have number 8.
Okay. Item number 8. Number 8.
Item number 8 is your item,
Okay.
Commissioner Ron.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at item M. Under my commissioner agenda items, what I would like to do is ask the board to authorize contract negotiations with Pamela DiAgostino for county attorney.
I'll move to authorize Chairman Ron to discuss with Pamela DeAgostino contract proposals for her employment as county attorney and to bring them back to the board for consideration.
All right?
Second.
There you go, I beat you to it. So the motion has been made by Commissioner Ballard, seconded by Commissioner Van Ostenbridge. Please cast your votes now. And the motion carries. Thank you very much. Being that there's any other action needed by the board today, any other comments?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just to comment on what we just voted on, just so people know. We put the request out for applications. For the new county attorney. We received applications. There weren't a lot of great ones, but unlike the county administrator, the county attorney really needs to have a hyper local focus in terms of knowledge of what's going on, needs to understand Florida statute. It's not as easy as go nationwide and have somebody ready to be up to speed. So, we were looking locally to the extent we could. Pam has worked here for a long time. Pam is extremely qualified, knows what Manatee County's about, knows what states of Florida statutes about. So she's the right option. If she wouldn't have left just, 8 months ago, she probably just would have moved right up in the first place. So the people who are saying we kind of skirted this, it wasn't. This was something that we reached out and looked for local people as part of our search, and Pam was the right option. And I trust the chair is going to come up with a good contract, and I'm hopeful that it's accepted, and I think we're going to have a great county attorney moving forward.
Commissioner Ballard.
Yeah, and just to briefly add to that, I think that everything that Commissioner Cruz said on that is accurate. And also, I think that it's important that for the county attorney position, we have someone with significant experience in government law and local government law, and someone who can, who the other attorneys in the office can respect to lead them, who they can respect to have that right kind of experience to hold that office together and make everyone comfortable.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. I need to open it up for public comment. Is there anyone like to come forward and speak to this item from the public? Don't see anyone. So, all right, we'll close public comment. Any other comments from the board? All right, we are adjourned.